So, look, you're doing your shopping in your high street and someone's knocked over in front of you trying to use a zebra crossing. What would you do? Would you run across and try and help them? Would you pull out your phone and dial 999? Or would you film it and then post it online to get likes? Well, people are doing this. Emergency services are now formally urging the public to use their phones to call 999 and not start filming at the scene of an incident to get likes. They say that recording it and then posting it online means that victims and their families are being robbed of their dignity, as well, of course, as distracting the medics and the police who are arriving trying to do their job.
Eve Thomas was just 17 when her dad, Nigel, was knocked off his bike in a serious accident. She happened to be on a bus close to where this happened and watched in horror as people pulled out their phones instead of trying to help. Speculation then circulated about her dad's accident on social media, which, of course, then added to the family's trauma. So Eve joins us now alongside Inspector Neil Lambley, who is from South Wales Police.
Hiya.
Good morning to you. Your dad, how's he doing at the moment?
He's OK. He, as a result of the accident, he does have permanent injuries. He will be disabled for the rest of his life. And while there is a lot of stuff that he can't do anymore, we are pleased to say he does lead a happy life, and we are able to give him that.
That support. Now, this was 8 years ago when he was knocked off his bike. You happened to be on a bus and could see the accident, but you didn't know at the time it was your dad. Now, in those circumstances, of course, you would hope that people would be calling emergency services and helping, but instead, what were people doing?
So, as of the nature of being from a very small place, there's only a few routes into my village, and as of the nature of it, my school bus happened to be going round the roundabout when my father had had his accident. Due to the diversion, the bus couldn't actually get through, so we were literally stopped next to the scene of the incident, where basically a full coach of other school children were filming. I was also made aware afterwards that while he was being treated by the air ambulance, other people were filming that, where he'd been moved. And I recognised his bike at the scene of the accident, but obviously I basically just went into a state of denial, and I was like, it can't possibly be him. If I get home, it'll just be fine. He'll be there waiting for me and it'll be OK. But obviously that wasn't the case. And it really just compounded everything, sort of being under that sort of goldfish bowl in that moment, everyone filming while I'm having basically the worst moment of my life.
So this bunch of people are not trying to help, not giving him a bit of respectful distance, but basically exploiting his agony and his suffering and the desperate work going on to save his life, because he nearly died. They're doing it so they can put it online and get likes.
I think partly it is that. I think partly it is almost that we have our phones basically attached to us at all times. We document every aspect of our lives. For so many people...
I mean, there are lines that you don't cross. Yeah. You've got some horrific stories. I mean, this is not an isolated incident. Just tell us about some of the cases that you personally encountered like this.
Yeah, so it is almost a daily occurrence.
Daily?
Yes, daily.
Jeez.
With my emergency service colleagues, so I'm here on not just on behalf of the police, but it's the ambulance service, South Wales Fire and Rescue, Coast Guard, RNLI. We are, on one occasion personally, I attended a scene of a 15-year-old boy who had sadly died. We had tried to revive him, tried to do CPR. And unfortunately, we've been unsuccessful. And
was this a road accident?
No, it was not a road accident, no. So this is, it's in any situation we're finding this.
Right.
And just around, coming around from giving him CPR, we're exhausted. It's very hard to give somebody CPR. And we found out that somebody had posted online that this boy, because the person who had rang it in had also taken a photo of this boy and had put it up online that he was deceased. Now, as police officers, we have a duty of care to the family. We have to make sure, beyond all reasonable doubt, that that person who we're about to say is deceased is that person. We then have to follow strict protocols. We are trained in how to deliver death messages. On this occasion, because we became aware it was on social media, I literally had to run from the scene of this boy's death to his parents' house a couple of roads away, intercept somebody who was on their way to give condolences because they'd seen it on social media.
Seen it on social media?
Yep, seen it on social media. and push them back and say, they don't know. Bang on these poor parents' doors and say, I am so sorry, your son is dead.
And of course, you get there out of breath,
yes,
unprepared, because normally you'd have a little time to gather your thoughts and work out how you're going to deliver this terrible news on the doorstep to somebody. You know, this awful knock on the door that we all dread, you know, and there's a police officer there with bad news. But you could have been beaten to it by social media.
Yes, and that's it. We are trained on how to deliver that news. I've often been told that if you give it a death message well, people will not remember your face. They'll always remember the news, but they won't remember your face. No. These parents will always remember my face because of how it's delivered.
Why do you I mean, I talk about people doing it because they want likes, and that's a fact. That is why they're doing it. What's your theory about why this has started to happen? So you say it's a daily occurrence in Wales, which must mean it's a daily occurrence everywhere. Why do you think people have lost any kind of sensitivity or humanity when they see something like this? Because it could be them on the ground being given CPR.
Yeah, I think we've all come together as a group with the South Wales Trauma Network have brought us together, and all of us have said we've all got our own stories, and we've all said I don't understand why people do this. My theory, it is just for the want of breaking the news first, and I was at the scene, and sometimes people often do it because they think they're passing information, especially on residents groups we find that, whereas, this road is closed. But instead of just saying, the road is closed, look for a diversion, they want to put exactly what's happened because they're the first to be there. We had one occasion last week where a man sadly died behind the wheel of a car, and literally somebody put that, I was first at the scene, and he's dead. Well, we hadn't even told
As a matter of pride?
As a matter of pride.
Like an asterisk?
Yeah. And but the knock-on effect of that was that everybody was then worried because he'd put the fact that it was a black Vauxhall, and people who then knew that their relatives drove a black Vauxhall...
In that area?
Were then terrified. And then ringing our control room, asking, is it my father, is it my son?
Do you think that the fact that the phone is between them and what they're filming is a kind of filter that removes the direct reality of what they're actually looking at, because they're looking at it through their phone rather than with the naked eye? I'm not saying this as to defend what they're doing, but that psychologically it makes them capable of doing this.
Yeah, I would agree.
When I knew a lot of people that had filmed my father, and I was on that school bus with people day in, day out, and sort of having those conversations afterwards, it was, oh, well, if I'd have known it was your dad, I wouldn't have done that. If I'd known it was Nigel, it's that humanising factor then. It's like, it did seem like people felt very detached. I don't know whether it was the shock. I don't know whether it is that having to be the first person, but they were sort of detached from the fact that he was a person and his humanity. So that is really what we are trying to get across to people. Ultimately, you could be in that position, someone you love could be, and what would you rather people do?
Are we talking about young people?
No, it's
Really?
a whole age range of people
really?
Who are doing this, and it's the impact that it has not only on the victims themselves, who are these are people who are in the most vulnerable position. Sometimes these are literally their last breaths that people are videoing. It's the family, but then it's also the emergency service workers who are trying to do their job, and they're getting constantly reminded then of the efforts that they've tried to make in saving somebody's life. It's impeding them doing their job.
I wonder whether it also, I mean, all of the awful effects that you're describing, but whether it might also put people off helping, because people might feel, I can't intervene, I'll be on camera, I might do something wrong, I might not be able to save their life, I might use the wrong technique. And that is going to be a negative effect as well, isn't it? Eve, thank you for coming in, and send our very best wishes to your lovely dad as he continues his recovery. And thank you so much indeed, Inspector Lambley. And I hope it helps people think twice before they whip their phone out when they see something happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.